guys, welcome to Throw Wrenches Garage. Tom here.
And Declan.
And we are back at it again. So today we're really starting to get into dicing it up and sort of bouncing back and forth between a lot of things. So there's going to be a lot of mashups in here. And one of the things that we're doing right now is to try to get this engine buttoned up. I'm dying to get this 350 that came out of the Chevelle buttoned up and then back off of this engine stand so I can get some room back in the garage. Right now, garage is tight enough that with this thing sitting here, this is like a trip hazard, right? It's just blocking our space and getting in the way. And we're mostly done on it. We've pretty much done everything that we need to do to the engine to get it ready. The last thing that we're waiting to do is to just plop the intake onto it. Once the intake is on, and once the RTV and everything is set on that, we'll be able to lift this sucker off, put it back on an engine cradle, which I have in the other room, and then we can scoot this out of the way and free up some space in here again, so that we can bounce back to getting more stuff done on the rest of the cars, so that we can get an engine into the Chevelle, because I'm getting itchy to do that. So this is our intake. This is what our carburetor is going to go on. It's what's going to distribute fuel and air into the cylinders. So carburetor sits here, fuel and air comes through the carburetor, goes through here, and goes through these tunnels, basically, runners, out here, and that gets distributed here. That goes into our cylinders. Okay. Simple, right? So we need to set this down here, like so, and bolt it in place. So before we do that, there's gaskets that go on here, and then we need to run a bead of sealant along these walls, which get called the China walls. I don't know why they're called China walls. If you guys know what they're called China walls, tell me. I think the technical term is the front and rear intake seal ends, but we're going to do that. We'll take care of that today. It's a pretty easy task. I'm going to have you do it and film you do it. And I'll just walk you through. Okay. We'll plop this down and then we'll bolt this in place. So there's things that I've already done ahead of time and cheated and prepped for you. One of them is that normally you would really need to check this to make sure that everything, actually I've got this on backwards. This is the
I thought that there was
distributor end. Yep, sorry. It goes on this way. That's the distributor. That's where the distributor goes in. This is the thermostat housing. So this has been on here before. And we didn't do anything to this engine to change the way this would fit. So if we had put new cylinder heads on, or if we had had the cylinder heads machined, then we'd have to, or if we put a new intake on, we'd have to check all the fits to make sure everything was going to fit correctly. I'm not overly worried about that because we didn't do any of that stuff. This is the same intake, same heads, it's going to fit. Okay. The other thing I did was I put some tape on here. So we're going to put an RTV, which is room temperature vulcanization stuff. RTV stands for room temperature vulcanization. It's basically like a silicone that we're going to put on top of this. We're going to run a bead of it along this one and along this one. And then we're going to press it down so that that's going to seal this off, because there's going to be oil bouncing around all inside of here when the engine's running. So if you don't run a good seal here, you get oil leaks front and back. Okay.
You don't want that?
We'd rather not. These are intakes for fuel, right? So 1 cylinder, 2 cylinder, 3 cylinder, 4 cylinder, 5, 6, 7, 8 cylinders. These are water jackets. So coolant runs through these. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a small bead of that RTV around these first, and then we're going to set our gaskets in place. So that little RTV will just help seal this, and hold on a second. So this is for those of you playing the home game. This is the surface of the heads that we're mounting the intake to, and you may look at this and go, this is gross, why didn't you bother cleaning this? But we have cleaned this a lot. So this has been scrubbed, this has been razor bladed, this has been cleansed, this has been Scotch-Brighted. It's as clean as it's getting. But these are old heads. And so what you're seeing here is actually pitted surface and stains. But that's exactly the reason why we're going to actually use a little bit of RTV around here, just to make sure that we're sealing it up.
Okay.
Because the imperfections in that surface could lead to leaks here if we don't put RTV on it. So I'd rather not have leaks. How about
I
you?
don't want leaks.
Yeah, rather not. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. So let's start off with the RTV first. So this is the stuff we're using. This is Permatex Ultra Gray. This stuff is rated for dealing with oil and vibration. This is basically the stuff that gets recommended to use.
Is it the good vibrations?
It's picking up good vibrations. Is it giving you excitations?
Yeah.
So I'll show you one. I'll show you the one that's closest to you because that's the most awkward one for you to do. And then you can do the rest. How's that?
Okay.
And this is just to give you sort of an example. So what we want to do, I'm going to kind of go close to the surface because I don't want to do a lot. I'm just going to go around the port like this. That's it, just a little smear. All right, so do that to this one.
So that's just the same thing you did?
Just the same exact thing that I did,
So
yeah.
now it's going to be bad though.
Nah. It's fine.
Go the opposite way.
Nice. All right, now these two as well. Yeah, now it gets a little bit awkward. It's like a toothpaste tube. So the other thing that this is going to do for us, yeah, just kind of spread it if it gets gooped, is that once we place the gaskets on here, it's going to hold the gaskets in place a little bit so they won't slide. And the other thing that I already did was to chase the holes, or chase the threads in the holes.
It's getting real goopy now because of this.
Here, I'm just going to...
Oh yeah, you could use your finger, I guess.
Sometimes that's what's required. So the threads on these holes and the heads get all gunked up with junk. So if you are doing this job, or if you're putting new heads on, anything like that, you do want to make sure that you chase the threads to get that gunk out of there. Okay. If you don't, then the risk, oh, hold on a second. If you don't do that, then the risk is going to be that your threads are going to get crossed up with your bolts when you get all that gunk in there. So I put a piece of masking tape on here. You can pull back and look at that. The reason I put that there is that when we drop, once we're going to put that bead here, and when we drop the intake on here, that stuff is going to squish out. This masking tape makes it easy for us to just clean up the edge of that and then pull the masking tape off and there's no mess. Okay. So that's like thinking a little bit ahead, saving you a little bit of cleanup with like brake cleaner and stuff. So in this case, we actually want to get a good bead going. So we're going to drop a big old fatty.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So this one will require some hand strength. And you may have to reposition it. Good for a shot?
Yeah, I'll try.
More.
Okay. You can feel like my hand's shaking.
Yeah.
You probably can't hear it, but you know, I'm not. Okay. Or...
You want to try to lay it down as like one bead. So you want to try to squeeze it nice and hard and move slow in one chain.
Okay.
So you don't want to do the back drag. There you go. Keep it going, just like that. Nice. That's it. That's okay. Pick it back up. Those holes are for locating the silicone gasket that they would normally use, so we don't have to worry about them. And just carry it up on that wall a little bit, up onto the head. There you go. Perfect. Nicely played, sir. And I'm just going to lay a little bit more down here. I'd rather have too much than not enough in this case. The extra will squeeze out. All right. Those gaskets actually should have printed on them this side up. So that just means that's the side you want to read. The other side should be the one that goes against the engine. Okay?
So like that.
Yeah. So these little tabs face down.
So do you just want me to put them on?
Yeah, so put them on here. And we want to try to line it up so that these holes line up with those threaded holes as well as we can. And you have a little bit of play in there. This RTV is not like, it's not a super glue. It's not going to set it immediately. Does it feel like it's staying?
For the most part.
Cool. All right. And now the other one. Nicely played, sir. Yeah, looks good.
It's gonna push back.
Yeah, as long as it stays, though.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. All right.
Because we're putting a heavy thing on it?
We are putting a heavy thing on. All right, so you want to grab it not at the edges because that's where it's going to sit.
Falling.
So there's a hole where your left hand would go here.
Here?
Yep. And then, yep, that's good. And you want to try to line up the threaded holes as much as you can so we can do the plop. How are your holes over here?
I mean, they're lined up, right?
All right, looks like our gasket's a little off. Here, hold this a sec. You can see our gasket's a little bit off the mark. Should be okay now. We'll start the smart way
And smart way.
in the center. That's where we should be starting. You're supposed to start in the center and work your way out.
Because there's so much that would change. I get it with other things, but with this.
It's about how you get it seated and getting everything torqued evenly for the gaskets.
Well, look at that. Like, I got it with like a tire. But like with this?
Yeah, it does. Well, it matters because you want all of this to be seated very evenly. Is that your stomach?
Yeah.
Too hungry or too full?
Probably too hungry.
You've been just sitting upstairs playing Monster Hunter and not eating?
No, I ate. I ate food.
But not enough for your growing teenage body?
Probably.
Okay. Here. I'll take this from you. Whoopah! Okay, now you can take the rest of the bolts and washers. So a washer on every bolt, a bolt in each hole.
On that one. It's weird, the bolts look like they already have washers.
Yeah, because they have that like flange on them.
Like on this too? Or no, oh, that wouldn't even fit.
Nope, it should be, yeah, those two.
Do I need to worry about tightening them?
No, as far as you can go with your fingers is fine, and then we're going to go at them with a wrench. And then we'll finish off by torquing them. So we want to start from, go that one and that one, this one and this one. And you don't have to torque it to death. When it starts to get tight for you, then you can stop. That's good. That level of tightness. Okay, now these two. If that one won't fit, I have this wrench too, but it'll be more awkward because it doesn't ratchet. I have this one. It's a box, so it'll get on there easier, but it just won't ratchet. Yeah.
This one for you.
There you go. So the wrench you're using now is called a combination wrench, and you're using the box end. Now let's clean up the goop. Can you see how this stuff gooped out? So now we just run this rag along here, and we don't care that it gets on the tape, because now when we pull the tape, it's all clear. Ta-da!
Is that what we're calling that? Is it Claritin Clear?
We're not saying that. They're not a sponsor.
It would be really funny if we were sponsored by Claritin.
That would be pretty funny. You could get sponsored by Claritin. You've got allergies.
Yeah. Sponsor us, Claritin. I have problems.
Declan's a regular user in the springtime. So there we go. We're done getting this intake on. I feel better about this, but what are we missing here?
Wait, is it headers? What is it called?
Valve covers.
Valve covers.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is It's an important moment in a father-son relationship.
When you color.
When I get to introduce you to your first stripper. Citrus strip.
Very funny.
We're going to be stripping valve covers. So we had this set of Holley valve covers that we had on my Chevelle. I actually just painted these last year, and you can look at how chipped up they are. They were like really pitted, gross.
Ugly.
I mean, we oversprayed them too when we painted the engine, so they got extra gross. But on top of that, we decided that Declan wants it all black, his engine. Well, except for the intake, which we're doing silver, right? So
yeah.
Black with those silver accents. So when we took these off, I decided to try out a little something. So you can see on the front edge of this thing, this flat, and I think if you hold it up in the light, you guys can kind of see it in the video. I tried a crinkle coat.
You should do that, yeah.
This is just like a spray painted crinkle coat. Crinkle coat's usually something you get with a powder coat. It's a weird product because you literally have to spray 3 coats of it in specific directions, and you don't see the crinkle happen until the 3rd coat. So that was a little bizarre. I hadn't done something like that before, but it seems to work pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It looks good. So I tested it on here just to see how it would look. I'm relatively happy with it. So I think we're going to do it. But we got to get all this paint off before we can do that. So
with the stripper?
We're going to use the stripper. Yeah. I'm hoping that this is going to be better than if we just try to use like scrapers and stuff. So I'm hoping this stuff is going to make it simpler.
What's the stripper's name?
Citrus strip.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. Is there a not weird stripper name? Let's try the plain one first. See how that does. Apply liberally. And then we just like spread this gunk on. I don't think it's like a paint. I think we want to like leave some of it in places, you know? Like leave it caked on, but it has to get distributed.
No, this smells weird.
Yeah, well, the reason that I got this stuff is a lot of times paint strippers are like really noxious. And I knew that because we have to use this inside the garage in this closed space, I didn't want something that was gonna like chase us out of the building or stink up the whole house.
And since you knew all the names of the strippers, you knew which one was gonna smell and which one wouldn't.
I knew which ones were the best smelling strippers.
What happened to my thing?
Yeah, I know these brushes are reacting to this for sure.
My paint brush has gone flaccid.
We're not going to be able to use these ones again, that's for sure.
This is why we don't have it on our eyes. This would have been our eyes. Jeez. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's really just
Killing it.
It's just tearing it up. Well, let me see if I have regular brushes someplace. Here.
It was weird starting out with a new one because I forgot how it felt.
Well, these are much more better. Yeah, sorry we don't have smell-o-vision. It doesn't smell bad, right?
No, it's not horrible.
It's not, I mean, it's not cologne. I don't want to slap it on like Aramis, but I mean, it's not awful. It's certainly not stinking up the place. I don't think anybody would complain about the smell. The instructions do say to leave this sitting for about 30 minutes and then do some test scraping. So I probably will leave it for 30 minutes and then just test a little bit of it. But I think what I probably will do is take their other suggestion, which is if you're going to leave it for up to 24 hours, to cover it in plastic and just sort of let the magic sit and soak. So that sounds like a better idea to me, since my hope is that if I do that, most of the stuff will just come off a lot easier. So we'll try that out. It's probably only been a couple of hours, but I got antsy and it's time to check now on the paint stripper, see how it's doing. Ooh. I would say that's, yeah, that's doing something. That is bubbling up nicely. Close to it though, that these things have been soaking, so let's see what we got. So it's been a little chilly down here, but hopefully this holds. They still look goopy, so I think that'll do it. Pretty damn good. So this is pretty much what they look like before I went and painted them the first time, and I think you can see why I painted them. This is what cast aluminum just looks like after time, which is pretty ratty. So I'm gonna call Declan down here because I want to see what these things look like when we actually put them on. I'm thinking that maybe we just paint these with the Alumablast paint and call it a day, because I think that would look pretty cool on his motor. We can still do the crinkle coat, but let's see what he thinks. We had so much success with this citrus stuff on the valve covers, I decided to go ahead and use it on the rest of the parts that came off the 350 that need to be stripped and repainted. The balancer is one that's going to be, this would be crazy to try to strip by hand, so I'm really hoping this stuff does the trick on it. The only thing I've ever really used stripper on like this is wood products like furniture and stuff, and trim and things like that in the house. And it was always miserable because, you know, paint and varnishes on like a wood surface, because it's such a porous surface, it just works its way in. So the stripper doesn't sort of do as much as you want. There's still a lot of labor that you got to pull off. But using this stuff on metal, this is like magical. It just bubbles right up and you slough it off. So this is the starter that we took out of the Chevelle. A little on the gross side. I don't know if I have to paint this or not, so I'm hoping we can just spray this down first and then see what gives. If it comes up pretty clean, then I'm just gonna leave it. It is just a starter after all. There's no reason for this to be immaculate and painted on a car that's not a show car. And I'd rather not paint and mask another thing. So we'll just see how this goes. All right, so there it is, all cleaned up. I don't think I'm painting this guy. We're just gonna leave him as is. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's gonna be trapped underneath the headers, underside of the engine. No one's gonna see it. So I think we'll just leave it as is. It'll go in that way. So the only problem with these headers is they're beaten. So you can see these things are pre-tired. They're pitted. I had painted them once, but when they were on the car. So you're gonna see things like there's paint here, but it's missing from here because I couldn't get to that area when it was on the car. So what we're gonna do is we are just gonna go ahead and try to strip as much of this off as we can. I'm not gonna use the citrus coupe because this isn't about removing paint. I kind of don't care about removing paint actually. Really what I'm going after is just stripping as much of the surface rust off of this as we can. So we're gonna go to Mr. Flap Wheel. So I'm getting super medieval. We are going 40 grit on this flap wheel. I'm getting aggressive. I just want to get it done. So that's what we have at this point. In some spaces, I mean, it gets it super, super clean where it can be clean. But you can see how much pitting there is just from these things being used and abused. They're pretty ancient, I am sure. But they still function and they're free. So now the next step is we're gonna go ahead and get a wire wheel and try to get into some of the spots that we couldn't get. All right, so there we are. A couple of 40 grit flap discs later, a couple of wire wheels on the drill later, and these things are, I think, about as clean as we can make them. There's nooks and crannies in here that I just can't get to. So, you know, we'll just deal. I actually hit basically everything with the wire brush, so the loose rust is knocked off. So it shouldn't inhibit us for painting, but I didn't get quite as much rust off of them entirely as I would like to. So it turns out that these are Mr. Gasket brand headers, which I didn't even know they made headers, but apparently they do. So now the next step in these is to clean them off. We'll sort of give them a good scrub in with just a regular cleaner. And then we'll hit them with the wax or degreaser too, just to make sure we get them nice and clean. They're sitting out here in the sun on this warming, almost early spring day. So we should be able to paint these outside today. I just have to figure out what I'm gonna rig up to hold them in space whilst I paint them. Coming up next. This is gonna be one of those ideas that is either genius or moronic. I don't think it has a halfway. I experimented, and it kind of worked. We're going to run with it. All right, so I guess we're going to give this a shot now. So this paint from Raptor, it's a flameproof primer. So I decided I wanted to run a primer on this just to get to ensure we have as much coverage as we can and make sure that the paint that we throw down here will have a nice bite. All right, that's it. So 1 full can, plus some. I think I had about 1/8 of a can left that I started off with. That was the cheat that you guys saw this start with. And we're pretty good to go. Good coverage. It lays on nice, stuck to that primer really well. So I think we're in good shape. You can see that pitting still comes through. You know, there's no hiding that, unfortunately, but it's gonna be okay. And if you're asking yourself, why did I make these black? Well, the answer is simple. They're too gross to make silver. It's time for us to paint these valve covers. So the plan is to use this stuff. It's called Wrinkle Plus. It's from VHT. We tried this on a small section of these, and it looked pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the valve covers from an expensive car. And it is a high temperature paint. So it is, it's not quite high temperature like the stuff they put on headers, which goes to like 2,000 degrees, but it goes up to 350 degrees. So it's fine on your valve covers, it'll hold up, whereas a normal paint might not. So we did clean these pretty well, but what we want to do now is we're going to spray them with a self-etching primer. And before we do that, we're going to clean them with the waxer and degreaser. So the way you're supposed to do this is to not use a ton. Wipe it on in one direction. And really, I should be doing a single swipe, but being lazy. And then wipe it off. That's the way you're supposed to do it. I don't know that we're going to be able to stay that religious about this on these pieces because it's a little bit difficult to get into some of the nooks and crannies on this.
You already did it wrong.
Yep. But I think it'll be okay. So I bought us a self-etching primer for this, which is designed to be sprayed right onto clean bare metal. So it sort of digs into the metal a little bit more than a regular primer. So you want to start on this one?
Okay, well now I'm going to start badly.
There you go. Good. Now what you can do is switch sides, or you can actually just do this one, and then you can switch sides and do them both.
Want to turn around?
Yeah, see, especially with something like this where it's got the fins, you have to sort of come in from that different angle to get everything covered. Okay, now get the ends.
It's gonna be.
All right. Declan ran into the house for something, but while he's busy, I'm going to hit these two pieces with some black engine paint.
Of course he's gonna.
This is the same stuff that we painted his block with.
Probably were like.
This is our balancer or damper. And this is the pulley that goes in the water cover, the water pump. Unfortunately, water pump's not ready yet. That's still going for another round of stripper. But I want to take advantage of the weather while we've got it.
That's what he said.
While you're eating. Declan's finishing up a snack. So this is the VHT Wrinkle Plus. We tried it before in a sample, but now we're trying it for realsies. And the way this stuff works is you've got to put it on in 3 heavy coats. They want you to do the first coat vertically, the second coat horizontally, and the last coat diagonally. I'm actually going to do that a little different. I'm going to do horizontal then vertical, just because I know, just because it'll be easier to get coverage on these pieces. But I'll do one, and then you do the other.
Okay.
Sound good?
Do we have enough for that?
We should. Yeah, I mean, we're going to do 1 coat first. You have to do 5 minutes in between coats, so checking our time now. And they want you to do heavy coats. So this is not one where you go light and breezy. This stuff smells like model paint. Model paint.
I got the sight enhancers, but it's okay, I'll get used to it. Oh, I feel tall. Actually, no, I don't. I feel short. Oh, this is... No, I'm gonna go inside to get my glasses back. This is making me feel weird.
Yeah, you can slow down a little bit.
That was a close-up.
You can slow down a little bit on your pass. You don't have to go quite so fast. There you go, that's good speed. Yep, keep going. Right over the top. It's all right. Hit it back again. They said go heavy, so I'd rather have you re-hit than leave blank spots. And get your ends too. All right. Now we wait. So
How do you go like that?
yeah, so I just like get low with it, but you want to keep the can vertical. You got to be careful not to tip the can to the side too much because then it will spit. See what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to have to do the side, because I pretty much just got the top. You didn't really get the sides.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did you do the sides when I did
These? Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just... Well, I know you did the sides, but I thought when you did the top, did you also do the sides?
I didn't do it in one stroke.
Okay, yeah.
Do you see what I mean? How this smells like model paint? Doesn't smell like normal spray paint. It smells like the little Testors enamel cans. Still funny paint there.
Yeah, it's fine.
Spray in your face. It's being a pain.
Oh, there's one. Sounds like something crying for help.
Spray can crying for help. Please finish me. Put me out of my misery. Good?
I think so. Feel weird.
Yeah, like 45 degrees.
I heard the geese coming back last night.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you may not want to come back yet.
Do you need to clear the nozzle?
Never mind. I need to clean my finger. You wouldn't guess what reminded me of the geese.
I'm glad we had enough paint to cover this.
Why'd you say that?
But you're on the last coat.
But why'd you say that? Now it's gonna like explode in my hand.
Well, it's not like this paint's unobtainable. I can just go back to go back to O'Reilly and buy another can. I'm just glad I don't have to.
Can't even see the geese.
All right. There we have it, folks. This paint lays down. Like, it looks gorgeous. It's not going to. Like, it's really glossy right now, but as it dries, it's going to tighten up, and that'll give us the wrinkle. We hope. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what they say it does. So we'll see. All right, so like, what is it, like 2 days later, Declan?
Yeah.
So it takes a while for this stuff to dry, but
It's worth it.
it's worth it, man. This is the look. I hope this shows up okay on camera. It looks pretty cool. But it's got just that right crinkle coat finish. It looks an awful lot like a crinkle coat powder coat. There's still some spots where it's not crinkled up, which they say you can hit it again if you want in those little spots and it should crinkle, but I'm not even worried about it. What about you?
Yeah, it looks fine.
Looks awesome. And we were going to take a sander to the top surfaces of this and expose the aluminum underneath the flats on the top surface. But Declan, what did you decide?
I think it looks cool like this.
You just want to leave it?
Yeah.
It is pretty cool. All right, so there you have it. We're done with it. Those are the valve covers. Pretty sweet. So shortly, we'll be able to get these things down. They do say they want you to wait, I think 48 hours before you actually anchor it down, bolt it in place. I think we're going to wait till this weekend to do it, just because it's not completely room temperature in here where it's been drying. So we'll give it a little bit of extra time to cure. But there it is, guys. I would fully recommend this crinkle coat finish. It was actually pretty easy to put on. It just takes forever to dry. I mean, it was not dry to be able to handle at all for a full 24 hours after we did it. Like, no joke. And it took until then before you could touch it at all. And it really took, truthfully, another day. So like pretty much 48 hours total before it really pulled its whole crinkle in. So pretty amazing. Sweet. Well, that's it for this one, but I feel like we got a lot done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pieces. So intake is on. We already painted that one before. Mm-hmm. Headers are now painted, although the headers are for the Chevelle. Mine! We've got the water pump pulley painted. We've got the harmonic balancer painted. We've got the valve covers painted. And that's after stripping all those. And I also cleaned the starter before you came out here too. The starter is going into my car, so that's all ready to go in.
Oh, great.
So we've got a bunch of stuff cleaned and ready to go, a bunch of stuff painted. So I think we're getting closer and closer to being able to button everything up. I know this seems torturous, but we've been waiting for today, right?
Yeah.
Because today was 65 at its best point.
Yeah, I think that was the highest.
And as we sit, it's March 15th. Yeah. So
yesterday was Pi Day.
that's pretty good for us to be able to get to 65 in the middle of March. We'll take it. And so we took advantage to be able to paint and not stink up the house.
Well, we don't know that yet.
That's true. The inside might be stunk up. The last time it did stink up the house,
Yeah,
even though we kept stuff open. Yeah. But closer and closer. So I am actually getting to the point where I just need to do a final parts check and count to make sure that I have everything I need for the Chevelle. But I think we are super close to being able to install the motor in the Chevelle and start to get that running, which I'm excited for. And then shortly thereafter, we'll be talking about getting everything back together for Declan's car. So the plan is that the Chevelle's running and driving in April, and Declan's car, I'm hoping we get the engine in it in May. I have no idea how fast we're going to be able to get it to running and driving, because there's enough changes there that there's going to be more finagling and tweaking with that setup than there is with the Chevelle. So from the time we put the motor in his car to the time we're actually getting it running and driving is probably going to take a little bit longer, but still should be able to have it running and driving this summer so that we can get him on it on his learner's permit. So that's the goal. So thanks you guys for tuning in and watching. And what should they do?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And check out the merch store if you will, guys. All that merch stuff does help us. It goes directly into buying stuff for the cars, as does any dollars that we make off the YouTube channel. So we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you liking and subscribing and leaving the comments. And so until we see you next time, keep throwing wrenches.